I am about to drive onto the Brittany ferry. This is exciting. Maybe it's starting to feel real now.
Welcome back to another video. This is a super exciting video. We are on holiday bird watching in Extremadura. So we got the ferry from Plymouth to Santander on Sunday night. It was about a 22-hour crossing. Would not recommend. I didn't know I got seasick, but it was a very rough crossing. The captain actually said it was going to be rough, so he was right. So we arrived in Extremadura and we are staying in a place called Cáceres. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And we are in an apartment here, and I'm sat on the balcony right now. This is the view of the balcony, but more about that later. Our first full birding day in Extremadura was fantastic. I will add stuff as I go along, but I'm just going to update you on what I saw. So we went to a place called Arrocampo, which is in Extremadura, and they have a visitor centre, which I would recommend going to first, because they have I think it's 5 observatory points or hides that throughout their reserve, and you need to get a key from the visitor centre. I would recommend checking the opening hours, because they do close at about 1:30 I think, and then they reopen later on in the afternoon. So you get given a key and then you can go into the hides. The first hide we went to was hide 5, and we went there just after sunrise, and we didn't have a key at that point, so we just looked outside the hide, and the species that I wanted to see was a black-winged kite. I didn't think it was going to be likely, but I thought there was a chance. The books and EBird all says that observatory point 5 is the best place for black-winged kite. So we got out of the car. We weren't expecting much, and in the distance, and I mean in the distance, there was a whitish grey bird of prey sat on top of a tree, and it was a black-winged kite. I threw my bag on the floor, I got my bridge camera out, and I managed to take one photo before it flew off. I did not see it again. We tried again later in the afternoon and we just didn't see it, but I got a photo, I got a record shot, so I'm happy, and I got the lifer. Hoping to see it again later on in the holiday, but I'm not sure. So we went and got a key after that, and we went to the rest of the hides. You can walk or drive to the hides. I recommend walking, because I actually think I saw the most birds when I was walking from hide to hide, rather than in the hides themselves.
Lifer! Awkward story. I was sat in the car, feeling a bit tired. We were at Arrocampo, and Matt called me and said he had a little bitten, which would have been a lifer. Obviously we searched for little bittens, so I was on holiday. So I actually ran down here, forgot my binoculars, they're in the car, and by the time I got there it was gone. And I was searching the reeds with my bridge camera, by the way, because I didn't have my binoculars, and Matt had gone to try and take some photos of a kingfisher, and the little bittern, this is incredibly lucky, landed in front of me in the reeds. So the fact that it landed in front of me in the reeds, and I didn't have binoculars, and I saw it, and I got footage of it. I actually recorded it on my P1000. I took photos and videos of it. I am incredibly lucky, and what a beautiful bird. I probably don't deserve that. Yeah, very happy.
So the species that we saw, Iberian grey strike, Sardinian warbler, there's red kites everywhere in Extremadura, glossy ibis, we saw crested lark, spotless starling, little owl, and magpie, Zitting cisticola, which I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing wrong. It was insane. It was just such a great time. I would 100% recommend going there if you're in the area. I think it's meant to be really good in spring as well, because there's terns and stuff, but obviously we're going in October. The Sardinian warblers are a nightmare to film. We couldn't film them. As soon as I saw it land, it instantly dropped to the ground and couldn't find it. In Spain, in general, there's just shrikes everywhere. Like you're driving along a random road and there's just a shrike on the side of the road. Spain is incredible. I am so happy that I'm here. So, day 2 was epic. It was more epic than the first day. So we went to look for steppe birds. I was not prepared for the coldness of the steppe wind, but now I understand. The steppe wind in October in the morning at sunrise is no joke. Being in that steppe wind in 25-degree heat with my coat on, I will add the name of the place that we went to. We did a lot of research to find the birds that we're going to talk about next, and that's something that I really recommend if you're going to Extremadura. It's a brilliant place, and people do bird watching, and there's lots of information, there's lots of books. So we bought books, our hosts gave us some books, and there's also visitor centres that I would recommend going into because they have like the insider knowledge, I guess. Yeah, so we went to the steppe birds. We were driving the whole time, and we immediately saw great bustards. Matt read somewhere that if you think you see a sheep, check it is actually a sheep and not a great bustard. And I thought I saw some sheep, and yeah, there were a group of great bustards. We couldn't really stop because it was a main road, but I did get a few snaps and then we had to drive off. And then we continued down this track and it was really quiet. There wasn't much around apart from larks. There's larks everywhere. And I saw this like little head on the top of a bank and I was like, what is that? And it was in the distance. I was driving. I didn't have my binoculars. So I pulled the car over and there were 2 female little bustards. I feel incredibly happy and privileged to be able to see these. We always wanted to see bustards. We've never seen them in the UK. We had a good feeling that we'd see great bustards, but we never thought we'd see little. We thought there was a chance, but we didn't want to guarantee it because they're so much more rare than the great bustards. But yeah, we saw the 2 little bustards, and they got spooked by some crested larks. Can you believe it? So I got very distant shots of those, but I did see them. So we went driving around this track and there was a place to pull over, so we pulled over and we got out and we just went for a little walk along a dirt trail really, and we saw a large group of grouse, because in the area there were pin-tailed and black-bellied grouse, I think, and we saw a big group of them. We think they were all pin-tailed, but grouse is so cool to see. So we were looking around for a little while. There were griffon vultures, there were red kites, we saw calandra lark, we saw crested lark, meadow pipits. Yeah, it was corn bunting. They were everywhere. So we're walking along this dirt track. We weren't really walking far from the car. You can do most of it from the car, but we wanted to have a little walk. And all of a sudden, on the side of the dirt trail, we accidentally flushed a little bustard. So Matt managed to get some photos of those. We were just stretching our legs, so I didn't even have my camera with me, but luckily Matt had his, so he got a good photo of that little bustard. It was awesome.
Hello, I have so much to update you guys on. So we were at day 2 when I last spoke to you, and honestly we have been so lucky and it has only got better. We went to a reservoir on day 3 called Alange, and wow, it was brilliant. It was a reservoir and then you kind of climbed up a mountain cliff, I don't even know what it was, and there was a castle on the top. The highlight of the species for me was a blue rock thrush. Matt was convinced I would see a blackweed here. I wasn't actually that convinced because they're really hard to see and they're not the best time of the year. We saw alpine swifts. There were alpine swifts everywhere. They actually make such a cool noise. They were flying around the reservoir, they were flying at the top of the cliff along with crag martins. We saw a group of cranes and they were really cool because I just thought it was awesome seeing them fly in the sky in a big group. We saw a feckless lark, which was a lifer for us. When you actually see a feckless lark compared to a crested lark, you can actually spot the difference, so that was cool. Saw Sardinian warblers. They're all over Spain, to be honest. They are super hard to get a photo. I think I've already said this. They're on the bush or the tree for like 10 seconds. It's ridiculous. And we also saw a rock bunting. I didn't expect to be able to see one, to be honest, and Matt spotted it in a tree and it was so precious and endearing, and it was just sat cleaning itself in a tree and it felt really special. So that was lovely. On the way back down, so we walked about 5 miles all uphill in the heat. I was hot, and on the way back down the black wheatear dream had left, which was fine, you know, you can't get everything. And then all of a sudden we spotted a black wheatear and it was on the cliff, on the rocks right in front of us, posing. Yeah, that felt really good. Matt was right. On the way back we went to a different part of the reservoir and we saw a Kentish plover, an adult male Kentish plover. As you guys know, we are a plover appreciation channel, so that was really nice, and a black ringtail. We went for a walk in a mountain range and it was really long. It was about a 6.5 mile walk. We looked on Google and Google said it was mostly flat. That was a lie. It was all downhill and then all uphill on the way back, and it started raining on the way back, so we had to walk 3.5 miles in the pouring down rain, surrounded by Spanish cows, which I tell you is terrifying, and I thought I was going to get trampled. So Matt's got this thing that he learned from YouTube, and he goes, come on cows, and you just got to be really positive. You're like, come on cows, come on, let's go. And they did, they moved out of the way. So the reason why we went there is because there is mountains and it's good for different types of eagles, and it was also good for vultures, eagle owl, and just a general other species. I got a hoopoe picture, which was really nice. There was lots of pipits, there were larks everywhere, there were red kites, Iberian magpies, which are probably one of my favourite birds ever. Sorry plovers, but I really like Iberian magpies. So that was really cool. Didn't see any eagles. We are really struggling with eagle ID. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be, and I think I naively thought that going to Spain I'd be able to look up and see an eagle, but it's not actually that easy. The day before we thought we saw a golden eagle. I saw it with my eyes, I didn't see it with my binoculars. Matt took a photo of it, and we just couldn't count it. It was flying away from us. We never saw it really, so we didn't count it. So we haven't counted an eagle yet. We went to Cáceres, which was cool because we went to a park and we walked around the park and we saw lesser spotted woodpecker, great spotted woodpecker. There were black redstarts everywhere. They were so cute. We had a little pack of Spanish sparrows in front of us on the grass. Park in Cáceres. It's amazing, it's just in the middle of the city. I really like it here. So we are on day 6 of our trip, I believe, and I think I have my bird of the year. I think it's got to be the Iberian magpie. I love them. They're so beautiful, their tails, they're cool, the way they like act and their characteristics and their behaviours. I just think they're super fun. And then we end the day. This was such a special ending to the day, and it was a real pinch me moment. We went back to Arrocampo. So Arrocampo is what I spoke about earlier on in the video, where we saw the black winged kite. And we got to Arrocampo just before sunset from observation 5, which is height 5. And we were watching the biggest darling murmuration I've ever seen. There were hundreds maybe even thousands of starlings, and it was brilliant. I tried to vlog it and get videos, but sometimes a video doesn't do it justice. And as we were watching the starlings, we were also watching a black wing kite hunting in this with a beautiful, beautiful sunset. I just think what a privilege to have that experience. So that was a lovely end of a day for us. So that brings me to yesterday. Yesterday we had a very chill day. It was very, very hot. It was probably about 25 degrees yesterday, and I like being in the sun, so I did spend a lot of time just in the mountains watching vultures, basking in the sun like a lynx. It was nice to have a bit of a chill day because we've been getting up pretty early and getting home late. And then that leaves us to today. So this is our second to last day, and we went to Badajoz. So we went there because there is a river, and we have a book that says that the east side is good in the morning and the west side is good in the afternoon. We had no expectations. We are so happy with what we've seen on the trip, but you could get things like squawkle heron, little bittern, purple swamp hen, things like that. So we thought we might as well give it a go. When we got there, the first thing that we spotted was a squawkle heron, and that is a lifer. So we saw squawkle heron so many times. We were searching, finally got eyes on purple swamp hen. They are actually really underrated. They're cool. I really like the colour of them. They're quite cheeky in personality as well. We saw, what else did we see? So we saw purple heron. I was scanning because I really wanted to see a little bit of them, and all of a sudden I said to Matt, what is that colour, different colour bird like in the lily pads? And finally got Matt to get on it, and it was a purple heron. We never thought we'd see one, and I think they're on migration at this time of year in Spain, and to see one and it's a lifer is pretty special. So fun fact, we have dipped purple heron 9 times, so to get one unexpectedly is always how it goes anyway. But yeah, really liked that. So we saw purple heron. Yeah, there were glossy ibis everywhere. To be honest, Spain in general, there's been so many glossy ibis, but there were about 100 glossy ibis on the lake. They were very flighty, but yeah, it was lovely to see them. We got good views of the squawkle heron a few times. There was white stork flying in, which was really nice, and then just the usuals.
Sal de tu nido, paloma linda, anda y prueba tu volar. No tengas miedo, mi palomita, que nada te va a pasar. Anda y prueba tus alas bonitas, sin que el temor te limite. Vuela paloma bien alto, mi vida, no dudes.
Monfragüe was an awesome place to be. When I first got out of the car at Salto del Gitano, I was in shock with the amount of vultures soaring through the sky, coming very close at times. What I really like about this viewing point was how close you could get and observing the behaviour and the characteristics, which is really interesting. Monfragüe is a national park in Extremadura and one of the most popular birdwatching spots. It has a wealth of species and has pairs of eagles, vultures and owls. I don't know if you can see or hear, but we are in Monfragüe, and those black things in the sky, they are all vultures. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit intimidated by seeing the vultures so close, but they were fascinating and less scary than I first thought. They seemed to be in pairs, which I thought was quite cute, By the end of the holiday, it was pretty easy to identify a vulture in flight. We visited Monfragüe a couple of times on our holiday, and it's certainly the best place to see vultures. There are lots of red deer. Hearing them call, the echo felt surreal. You can also get a lot of smaller birds in Monfragüe too, which is cool. Overall, I had to rate Monfragüe a 5 out of 5 because the potential was insane, and the experiences of seeing the wild vultures and owls like that was just magical. I didn't visit any of the visitor centres across the national park, but I would certainly recommend doing that if you can.
Sal de tu nido, paloma linda, anda y prueba tu volar. No tengas miedo, mi palomita, que nada te va a pasar. Anda y prueba tus alas bonitas, sin que el temor te limite. Vuela paloma bien alto, mi vida, no dudes que siempre amanece, ya amanecerá.
So that's the end of our Spanish holiday. I needed to update you on yesterday, and we ended our holiday the last evening in Monfragüe, and we got to see and hear an eagle owl. What a way to end a holiday. I just think that's so special. On our way over, we did predictions and targets, and I wanted to go through that with you guys really quickly. So we got 113 species overall, with 29 lifers, which I think is great for like an off-season trip, I guess. So before we got to Spain, we did a little predictions, and I actually predicted that we'd get 40 lifers, and Matt predicted that we got 32, so Matt won. I thought my first lifer would be a zitting cisticola, and Matt thought his would be a Spanish sparrow. Our first lifer was actually a spotless starling. I thought we'd see 125 species on the trip, and Matt thought we'd see 110, so Matt was the closest. This is editing Sophie here. When the final tally actually came in, we got 121 species. I thought that the best species that I wanted to see would be any eagle or long-eared owl. Didn't see any of them. And Matt was an eagle owl or a black wheatear, and we saw both of them. So again, Matt was spot on. My most wanted bird before we left was a Kentish plover, and we did see one of those, a full adult male, which was nice, and Matt was a little bustard, and we also saw one of them. So it was an amazing holiday. I've posted a summary every day on my social media of what we got up to, our lifers, species, and some photographs, so definitely check that out. And I have really enjoyed documenting our first birding trip abroad with you guys, so if you end up going to Extremadura, you can get involved. Spanish birding is definitely different because you have to be so careful with the birds. In England, you can actually get quite close to birds. Like if you stop the car and observed a bird on like a fence post in a field, you'd probably be fine, but in Spain you just couldn't do that. Yes, birds are a lot more flighty. Even if you're like miles away from them, they are still like clocking you straight away. We didn't do any tours or photography hides, so everything we did, we researched through books and eBird. They were awesome books, and I would recommend them because they give you routes and where to see specific species at certain times of year and certain times of day. We're definitely going to come back in spring because you can see a whole new round of different birds. We want to see the tropical trio that we call them, which is an oriole, roller and beta. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Thanks again everyone, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for clicking on this video and just supporting us, and I can't wait to see what's next.